We'll move forward now to discuss LeBron James. So, if you've seen around, there has been a back and forth between LeBron James and living legend Phil Jackson. So, LeBron wasn't happy, and those close to LeBron were not happy for the use of the word posse when Phil Jackson was describing LeBron James's inner circle. Don't want to hear it just from me. Let's listen to LeBron's take on this matter.
No relationship at all. I had nothing but respect for him as a coach, for what he was able to do, obviously, at the helm of one of my favorite player of all time, MJ, and also been there growing up and watching with the Lakers, but I got nothing for him. To use that label, and if you go and read the definition of what the word posse is, it's not what I've built over my career. It's not what I stand for. It's not what my family stands for, and I believe the only reason he used that word because he see young African Americans trying to make a difference.
LeBron James is not happy with the use of this word. I wouldn't take it offensively, but here's the thing. I'm white. And it would not, it doesn't have any context towards me.
You'd be like, that's kind of badass.
Yeah,
right?
I would be like, holy shit, I feel kind of cool. I've got my sweater and my collared shirt, and I'm being called a member of a posse. But let's take what LeBron James is referencing to.
So there's obviously there's always a few definitions, but according to dictionary.com, a body or force armed with legal authority.
Yeah, that's it.
Or, it's slang, a group of friends or associates, and one of the examples, a posse of drug dealers. I think that's what LeBron heard when he was relayed, at least. I don't know if this was a written interview with Phil Jackson.
Yeah, no, he clearly stated this word. It's right. Not like, it couldn't be taken out of context. Absolutely. He said that LeBron's inner circle is part of a posse. And one of those members actually who shared his view on this as well as Carmelo Anthony. So let's take a quick look at what Melo had to say on this. So he said, I would never want to hear that word about me and my, I don't want to say crew, but people I consider family and I've come up with and through thick and thin. I would want to be called tight-knit group of family, but that's what I consider those people to me. And then he was asked, is posse an offensive word to you? I think anybody would understand that. Anybody, I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist or an educated person to understand kind of what it means to us. And that is crystal clear, the difference here. It's as much as there is going to be the tyrant of abuse and talking about how sensitive we are, it doesn't offend you because it doesn't have any sort of hateful, negative context towards you. But towards a person of color, towards an African American, I want to get your thoughts, Jayar. If someone said this to you, do you take it in that context if you're talking about a tight-knit group of people?
If it's just a group of guys that you're in college and you do your thing, where you can, I think you can see that even. But where LeBron took offense was this is a professional group of people. Mm-hmm. Several of them have branched out and created their own very successful business ventures because of the platform that he was given to people. So the frustration comes in no matter what you've done, you continue to get placed back in this degenerate group. There's a negative tone to it. Now, when LeBron extrapolated and said, I wonder what he says when the cameras aren't on, he's insinuating on things like the N-word, things like thug is what I took him as saying, which is also another a dog whistle word for the N-word. But so when you have a professional group of people, and they're generally young, what LeBron is 32 or so, maybe early 30s, he is thinking we're a professional group of people who do business, who do it professionally, who do it well, who are very successful at what we do. When are you going to start giving us respect for who we are? And not that we came out and started asking for it. You brought us up. Yeah. So if you bring up the associates of the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, you don't call that a group of, you don't call that a posse. Exactly. And when they go to the owner's box, this always annoyed me a bit. Whenever they speak to, and this is another sport, but Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, people interviewing him on the field, they'll say, Mr. Kraft, or like there's no, you can't call him Robert. Yeah. Because that's just beneath him. Like there's this level of respect you exalt him to simply because he has money. Yeah. Guess who else is rich? All these guys. LeBron is extremely rich. Yes, he is. Except guys like him, as soon as he signed onto that Nike deal, which was worth hundreds of $millions before he dribbled a basketball, people started going, oh, what is this guy? Instead of going, oh, this guy's a multi-millionaire. Yeah. Should we call him Mr. James from now on? Yeah. And I don't know. It's like there's a level of respect that's demanded, and I'm sorry we have this unwritten respect for certain people that we don't have for the rest, and I get his frustration over it.
Yeah, and I think it is valid. It's the same thing as if you imagine what like Tom Brady Peyton Manning, like these guys, if they've got a group of friends, are they called their posse? Like, or if you're going to put together Kevin Love is going to hang out with whoever else in his group, are they called posse members? It's never going to be reiterated. They're friends or they're associates or like they're family members. It's a harsh reality to hear at times because people will often deflect so that they don't have to look at themselves and whether or not they would call it a posse, and they might not think that they are referencing whether or not they're a group of drug dealers or a group of thugs. But it's reiterating a message that was used in a hateful way. It was never used positively. They're not like that group of guys over there in their posse, they're going to go and help this community. They're going to go to church. They're going to do all the right things. No, it was like that posse on the corner, they're just up to no good.
We have a boardroom meeing later today, you guys, and in comes a bunch of investors in their posse. No one says that in a big business meeting. You're like, so I want to get my CEO, my COO, we're going to meet together with a posse to discuss this multi-million-dollar deal. No, you don't.
And if you need reminded as to who he's referencing, it's the Banana Boat crew, who are all very close, like Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and whether it's his associates that work with him. See how I used associates? Because they work with him in a business, which is a multi-billion-dollar business. And LeBron James is as much responsible for the growth of this game to anyone else as Phil Jackson, or like Phil Jackson is a decorated coach. He deserves all the respect in the world as a coach in this, but it's something that we have seen so reminiscent. I'm not categorizing him in the Donald Sterlings of the world, but there is that same sense of entitlement, that same sense of this is what I think, it's right because I am on this status, and whether or not you have all the money in the world, you could be the best athlete we've seen athletically come out of this sport. I'm still not going to give you. I'm going to hold something over you. I'm going to refer to you as posse.
I want to give a little bit of the context behind it because some of this also came from the fact that Phil Jackson was calling him a diva because he was talking about the breakdown of the relationship between LeBron when he was in Miami and Pat Riley.
Yeah.
So because he wanted things like an extra day in Cleveland when they were playing against the Cavaliers and he was with the Heat, things like that was the basis of Phil Jackson's disparaging remarks. And maybe they don't get along. Maybe he doesn't like LeBron, which is fine. Nobody says you have to like the guy. But in saying those things is when this type of term came up. So if you have to take a look at yourself, this is okay, by the way. So if Phil Jackson hears this and says, okay, I understand how that's offensive. I didn't know that I was coming off that way. I'm going to look into the way I speak, and I'll treat you with respect. It's fine. I'm sure that would do a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, and it's something that all yesterday on the main show I was trying to reiterate back and forth, is that when I'm not saying, like, this is the bottom line here, I'm not calling, based on this, Phil Jackson a racist. I'm not saying that is he's being racist in his terms. I think more of not, it's being oblivious to it, and that you're playing into a narrative that you maybe need to question. And in order to question that, is someone, like you mentioned, asking him, why did you think that was the right term to use? Like, what goes into making that a preferred term over associates or anything else? Whereas on the left, and a lot of people who are upset by these terms being thrown around, which again, I understand if you're upset. I'm not condemning you for that. But I think that we get further as a society if we don't label everyone like we're doing with all Trump supporters and all, like you are all racist, all sexist, all misogynist, all xenophobes, rather than being like, some of them are, there's no doubt in their mind, some of them are. But if you're telling me that 46% of the country are all that, then it's a very dark place that I'm thinking in my mind. Yeah. So instead, you maybe ask them, for those that say that they're not those things, prove it. Show me why. Like, show me why this was this was something that you are maybe oblivious to and you want to educate yourself further on. So it is a conflicted conversation to have, but I think there is a line. You don't want to just go and brandish someone racist without having the full context of why this came into his mind and why this was a terminology that he thought was okay. But at the same time, there is a possibility that it could be racist.
Man, we've all done it. It's part of our society.
Yeah.
So I guess last thing on this, for me at least, is we talked about on the main show before. We have terms that we've always used in the country: off the reservation, Indian giver, all those things. And then when you stop and someone goes, hey, listen to what the hell you just said, and you go, why did I use the term off the reservation? Yeah. I've never been on a reservation before. I've never talked to anyone who's lived on a reservation before. What the fuck does that mean? Yeah. It could mean bad things, but it's our society. It's in our general vocabulary. And if you don't think about the things you say, you'll say some things that mean bad things and maybe not what you meant to convey. Yeah. So as soon as someone highlights it, don't go, how dare you, how dare you. Go, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix my vocabulary now.
I think that
it's
is the
okay,
key.
and then you're not a racist.
I think if someone highlights it and you respond that way, if you respond deflecting, then you don't want to hear the kid, and you want to just be, you're being too sensitive. But on the other side, if someone highlights it in a way they brandish you straight away without giving you the chance to explain, I think that anchors the divide more so.